must-read blogs in the PR space. We are thrilled to have Eric back on the Minnesota Blogger Conference stage and to kick off the conference and give us some framework for a fantastic day. So please join me in welcoming Eric Hansen.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Great. Good day so far? It's early, I know. So I want to start by saying thank you to those two. Because when we started this, Missy and I started this 7 years ago. And this was the group, right? So we started at Cocoa in St. Paul. And all it was me and Missy saying, hey, we got blogs, and we know there's a lot of other bloggers out there, and we feel like we should get everyone together one time a year and network and learn and share best practices and all that kind of stuff, right? And this was the group, right? So you can see, much smaller than I see out here. I was trying to count when I was sitting over there, but I don't know, 100 people. You had like 200 people last year, didn't you? I mean, you guys have had 350. I mean, that's crazy, right? So I am humbled and really happy that this group gets together every year, and that Jen and Michael have taken it and making it such a better thing than we had started with, 8 years ago. So Jen and Michael, thank you. Maybe a round of applause for Jen and Michael for doing this every year. Thank you. So yeah. Whoops. Uh-oh. Wrong direction. How do I get back? Try that again. There we go. I'm just a marketing blogger. Like Michael said, I work in the communications, PR, social media business. People like me are a dime a dozen. Like a dime a million, actually. There's probably tens of hundreds of thousands of me walking around the face of the earth. And actually, the other people, I mean, no offense, but the people like me make me I'm disgusted with myself, right? Like the people, if you watch social media, PR, marketing bloggers on the web, they're all trying to sell something, right? So I try to pride myself on not selling something, but really at the end of the day, I'm a dime a dozen, right? So I play in the most crowded space on the web, probably bar none in that area. And I started at ground zero, just like the rest of you, right? So how many people started on Blogspot, right? Yes! Blogspot, long live Blogspot. So Blogspot was a platform that was developed by Google that I believe has been since shuttered, right? They killed it. Are people still using Blog? Oh my God, okay, sorry. So right? I'm stupid, was stupid, and I needed something that was totally like a WYSIWYG, platform where I could just get on and start writing, because that's all I wanted to do. I didn't need anything. I didn't need anything fancy. I didn't need anything that was outrageous. I just needed a spot where I could write. So, Blogspot fit the bill. And here was my first post, right? So this was kind of indicative of the way I kind of took blogging, right? I just wanted a space where I could have a voice and rant. And you can see here I was ranting about the healthcare industry, so my friend Teresa will love this. But that's what I wanted. But I think that is very indicative of what I'm going to. The reason I started my blog really had nothing to do with growth. It had everything to do with creative expression. This is 8 years ago. I was working at Fairview. I just had my second kid. So I was locked in my house. I went to a job that I didn't really love at the time. I felt trapped, right? This comes along, and now I have something to do. Like I have something to say, and I had something that got me excited every night when I went home to do this after my kids went to bed. So creative expression was a big deal for me. Since then, I've evolved, right? So I apologize for the blogger comment. I did not mean it that way, but I've evolved, right? So I've used WordPress. So you see the WordPress bar here today that's here to help you. Much more complex, right? You need to know a little coding. You need to know a little bit of this and that. And as a result, I've kind of updated my blog over the years. But again, I started at zero. There's not numbers on here. I'm sorry about that. But if want to talk about growth, I've gone from 0 to a number of followers just like everyone else has. I went from 0 in 2008 to over 200,000, unique visitors last year. That's not the most of anyone, probably not the most of anyone in this room by far, but it does show growth, right? So what were the keys to my growth? I think number one, there it is. Okay, right, that is weird. Number one, consistency. Number one, consistency. I apologize for this. This is not supposed to show up this way. 1,100 posts over 9 years. 1,100 posts over 9 years. I'm just going to put this over here. 1,100 posts over 9 years. 2 to 3 posts a week. I've recorded 75 podcasts with a friend of mine, Kevin Hunt, who works at General Mills over the last 2 years. I think I've, relying on my brain here now, I think I've distributed more than 500 talking points e-newsletters over the last 4 or 5 years. And I mention all this because it's consistency over time. Because so I've been blogging for one referral source of traffic on the website. Anyone take a guess? Look at search. Search is what's built it over the years. It's not social. It's not paid social. Well, it could be paid social if I want to spend money. It's not referral traffic from some third-party site. It's search traffic. That's what's done it. And the only way I've got there is by posting 2 to 3 times a week for 8 years. I mean, I just told you, I'm stupid, man. My stuff is not that groundbreaking. I blog in a space that's the most crowded on the web. Like, I shouldn't be able to break through, but I've been posting for 2 to 3 times a week for 8 years. Like, there's not that many people in my space that have done that. There's really not. So if you can just be consistent over the years, I mean, you're going to hear some great advice from some really smart people today, but really that's one of the biggest keys. The other key has been I've been very purposeful about building community in many different ways. So one way I've done that is by starting this kind of PR Rockstar series. And this was, just built around giving people in my industry the platform or to highlight them for a given day. So it might seem easy, but I've been doing this for 9 years, and people continue to be, just kind of either flattered or just, happy to get the spotlight, because I work in an industry where we don't get the spotlight that often. So I know that. So it's like giving people, a day where they, get to talk about their job and what they do and how great they are. People love that. And you know what? What's interesting about this series that I've done is over the years, escaping me at the moment, but anyway, she founded this organization called Still Kicking. She lost her husband to cancer. She's an incredibly inspiring person, and Jamie is an incredibly inspiring person as well. You can see here, up and at him right away. She got back to work right away. She had a kid. Like life did not stop her at all. It was barely a speed bump, right? So wow, this is an incredibly inspiring person. I want to get to know her better. Reached out, featured her as part of the PR Rockstar series. Now she's speaking at an event I'm organizing next month. My son raked her lawn last year. Like, she's become a friend, right? People. I would have never met her if not for the blog. Or make it specific to this conference. Julio Ojeda Zapata. Julio, and crazy enough, he's not here today, but he was at like the first 4, and he was all up in our grill because when we said, hey, we need volunteers to help us, we can't do this on our own, Julio was one of the first hands that shot up, and it shot way up there, man. And he was like, he had names for that. He had ideas for the hashtag, he had ideas for the conference, he wanted to speak, he wanted to meet people from, he did meet people from Google in 1 year, like, he was all over it. And that would have never happened if I wasn't blogging. If I wasn't blogging, I wouldn't have tried to start the conference, and if I wouldn't have done the conference, I would have never met Julio. My friend Kevin Hunt, who I do the podcast with, same thing. Like, I had an idea for a podcast, I didn't want to do it by myself. So I talked to Kevin, and lo and behold, here we are 3 years later. We take our sons to basketball games together. We, have gone to, we've had dinner together for families. I mean, he's a friend, right? So as you think about how your blog can help introduce you to people, what are you doing to connect with fellow bloggers and others in your space? Are you getting out and meeting with people? I mean, you're here today, this is a good first step, right? But how can you take it to the next level? Commenting, sharing, guest blogs. Could you create a blog, like a blogger mastermind group in your niche? Something like that. Have you heard of this Twin Cities Collective? Has anyone heard of this thing? It's more of an influencer thing. I think some people are probably involved with it. That's a great idea. Like stuff like that, right? Or just be involved with that, if nothing else. Or could you team up with a competing blogger to create something bigger than the both of you? And that's how this started. That's what I thought of when I did talking points, but my podcast. I was like, I could do this by myself, but it'd be more fun to do it with someone else. And it gets at that, again, it gets that people part of it. So think about the people part to your blogging. Next P, halfway passion, right? It's a miracle there's anything up here at all. So when you think about your blog, again, yes, you want to grow it, but think about the things that get you going, right? So this is an interesting story for me. This happened right after I started blogging, where the job market, I was just talking about this with someone when I walked into town. 9 years ago, the job market was much different. Like, a lot of people were looking for jobs, right? It wasn't saturated like it is now. And at the time, I was one of these people, like, I would say, oh yeah, I'll do anything I can do to help you, just let me know. And then, of course, I did nothing, right? So I was like, okay, I'm tired of doing nothing. Damn it, I'm gonna take a stand, and I'm gonna do something for once. So I had this idea. I knew these 2 guys at the top of the page, there you can see their names are Sonny Gill and Scott Hepburn. And one of them lived in North Carolina, one of them lived in Columbus, Ohio, and I met them through blogging, and they're both looking for jobs. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna do something. So I organized this tweet-a-thon. And the idea was to, again, 9 years ago, folks, or 8 years ago. The idea was to have people host an hour each day, and then try to connect these 2 gentlemen to job sources or job leads, or just talk about anything. Basically, just keep the momentum going all day long, right? So we did that. It was a great success. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to a job right away to them, but they both said it kind of buoyed their spirits, and helped them, and kind of spurred them along to find a job. They both found jobs then, a couple months, and they were fine, and now they're off to bigger and better things. And that was wonderful, right? That fueled my passion. Like, I did something, I made a difference for 2 people, right? And that should have been end of story, right? Like, awesome, I did my job, I did what I set out to do, and now I feel fulfilled, they feel propelled, everyone's happy. Well, that wasn't the end of the story. A week later, I get a call from Scott saying, hey buddy, do you still want to go to Washington, D.C. to this event called Blog Potomac? Blog Potomac, again, 8 years ago, not as many social media conferences around. This was one of the only ones I could find. It was in Washington, D.C., I really wanted to go, but I had 2 little kids at home. I was like, yeah, I can't really tell my wife I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and spend all this money if, times are tough right now. He calls me up, do you want to go? Me and Sonny have talked to Southwest Airlines. They're going to pay your way out there. We're going to take care of your hotel room. All you got to do is buy the ticket. And the ticket was like $300. I was like, I'm in. So what an amazing thing, right? That whole story, just an amazing story. Like, I had no interest in getting anything out of this. It was just, I was trying to make a difference for people, and I was trying to help when I hadn't been helping. the last number of months. And here these guys come along and give me this amazing experience where I met it was kind of like this. Blog Potomac was like this for me 8 years ago, where it was all these people from around the country I met through blogging, and I had the chance to sit with them and talk to them and meet them for the first time. It was an incredible experience. So again, that was not about growth of my blog at all. It was about passion, and it was about having fun, and it was about meeting new people. For me, storytelling too. Again, my passion. Like for me, the blog is kind of like being a magazine writer. Like I've always wanted to be a magazine writer. I'm a PR guy. A lot of us started out like wanting to be journalists, and then we said, oh, we're not good enough for that, so we'll go into PR. So magazine writing is something I've always wanted to do, right? And my blog is basically an online magazine for me, the way I look at it. Because I can write about whatever I want to write about. So on the upper left-hand corner there, you can see if I want to go to the Mall of America on Black Friday, what was this, 4 or 5 years ago, and study how retailers are using QR codes, I can do that. And that was super fun. And I noticed that no one knew what they were doing with QR codes. That was fairly obvious, but I needed to prove it, right? And certainly, sure enough, outside of the mall, no one else was using them effectively at all. So this ability to do kind of whatever you want, and again, creative expression, right? I'm not trying to grow the blog by writing these posts. I'm just writing about things I'm interested in. The Starbucks thing, I literally stumbled on. I was just scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I saw this. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, it's a pumpkin giving birth to other what the hell? So that got me curious, right? Like, what the hell are they doing? And they're doing it on Facebook Live. The Facebook Live of a pumpkin patch? Like, what are they doing? Start researching it. Next thing you know, I got a blog post, right? So, passion. What gets you going? What gets you fired up? And then finally, it can lead to other things too. Your passion can lead to other things. This is an event that we're holding for the first time next month, and it's like a social media training program that's led by people doing the actual work at the Fortune 500 companies and big agencies across town. It's called Spark. They're doing it with a friend of mine I met at Allianz. And the whole reason this came about is because I blogged about the issue 6 months ago, and I blogged about this issue that there's really no good social media training in town, and there feels like a hole. And I wrote that post, a lot of people reached out to me and said, hey, I agree, let me know what I can do to help. And I was like, well, holy hell, I think I have something here, I could do this. I need help, I need to do it with someone else, but I think I could do it, and sure enough, 6 months later, we're attempting to pull it off. So again, that wasn't necessarily about, growing my blog. We're not going to make a ton of money on this thing. It's more about giving back and contributing to the larger community and making a difference for people and filling this gap in kind of the PR and social media world. So again, here are questions to ask yourself. What could you do with your blog to do more good? Right? Especially in the world we live in right now. Holy crap, right? We all have platforms. We all have ways that we can do that. We need more good in the world right now. Second, think about which posts you've written in the last few months, year, that have really gotten you fired up. What have you written and be like, that was really fun to write that? Go write more of those, right? You don't always have to follow the editorial calendar. That was a piece of advice that someone gave me a long time ago. When I started my business, I went from being, blogger with a day job to blogger, now I'm a consultant, now the blog's kind of like my website, so it's kind of a shift. And I remember this one lady telling me, someone I really respected, saying your blog's gonna be totally different now. You're gonna have to plan everything out, you're gonna have to have an editorial calendar, you have all that stuff. And I remember thinking, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't want to do it that way. And, 8 years later, I'm fine. I have a plan, I have a sense of a plan, I don't have a strict editorial calendar, but I like the idea of blogging about whatever comes into my mind, or whatever comes up in my life. Like, that's kind of what I like about it. So why would I want to change that? And then finally, I think bigger and better than your blog. How can you make a difference, again, through blogging? So again, kind of 1 and 3 kind of tie together there. Like, think about how you could use your blog for good. Instead of, again, I know I'm kind of going counterculture to the theme of the conference today, but think about what you can do with it that's good and it doesn't always have to be about growth. Finally, personal fulfillment. So, again, starting your blog as a creative outlet, you should be getting some kind of personal fulfillment out of this, right? Some of that's going to come out of growing your blog and seeing those numbers rise and potentially making money, whatever it is you want to do with it through growth, for sure. But part of it should also be, kind of in here, like thinking about what gets you going and what fires you up. And that's why you're all here, really. I mean, anyone that's blogging for any length of time, you know damn well, it's not like this thing, it's not a get-rich quick scheme, really. It's a labor of love, right? Anyone, even people that have made money will tell you that. So personal fulfillment. So this comes in many different ways, right? So one way it comes is like total geekery. And for me, this comes by way of this post. So this is a post I wrote a couple years ago about the Sons of Anarchy living by this PRSA code of ethics. So, you know, Sons of Anarchy, I'm sure most people have heard of that show. I was a big fan. I watched it on Netflix. I didn't watch it live at the time, but watched it on Netflix. Loved the show. Wrote this post, and I thought, okay, that's great. That was a fun post to write, but there it goes. Well, a few days later, a guy by the name of Kurt Suter tweeted the link. Kurt Suter is the founder, the writer, and the director of Sons of Anarchy. His Twitter handle is Suter Inc. Like, that's incredible, right? How did that get his attention? Why did he do that, And granted, it might have been like his minion that runs his Twitter account. That's entirely possible, but it might have been him too, right? So that's a total geek out moment. And then what's bad? The best part for me was like my friends at Polaris, and one of them was Jamie at the time, came to me and said, "You son of a bitch! We've been trying to get Kurt Suter's attention for so long. You write a damn blog post." And it's a total geek out moment, right? So that has nothing to do with growth. Like, just because Kurt Suter tweeted my link, I didn't get like 20,000 new followers or anything. But it was super fun, and it was something that like only people like us will get. So like, I can't tell this story at the Thanksgiving dinner table, right? Because people look at me like, "Oh my God, you're talking about your blog again." I can tell you guys will appreciate it, right? You're laughing. Like, this is good, right? So, personal fulfillment. Speaking gigs, right? A lot of you, much like me here today, you'd probably be asked to speak at some time about something, because bloggers get asked to speak all the time about stuff, right? And for me, I haven't turned this into like a paid speaking consortium, right? Like, I don't think I've ever charged money for a speaking gig, ever. But look at the places it's led me to go. Like, I got to go to Seattle, Washington, which I had never been to before. The PRSA chapter out there asked me to come speak at one of their conferences. "We'll pay for your way out here. We'll pay for your hotel. All you gotta do is come." Awesome, in. Well, then I sat down with my wife and said, "We've never been to Seattle together. Like, all you gotta do is pay for your ticket out there. We got a place to stay. We'll add a few days to it. It'll be great." And we explored Seattle. We went to Olympic National Park, if you've been there. We went to Bainbridge Island. We drank wine. The kids weren't there. Like, it was fantastic. That would have never happened without my blog. I'd probably still never gone there. And by way of that, then we loved Seattle so much. We're like, we gotta go to Portland. We gotta go to the Oregon coast. We gotta explore. And now, like, the Pacific Northwest, like, we're thinking about retiring there. Like, we love it. And that would have never happened without the blog. So like, think about how that enriched my life and that personal fulfillment in my life. Fort Worth, Texas, not quite as sexy, but there's other places I've been. That Destin, Florida, that I would have never been without my blog. Another case in point. So is Cirque du Soleil shows. Anyone seen Cirque du Soleil shows? Yeah. Probably some people, right? There's a ton of these in Vegas. If you've been to Vegas recently, a ton of these have been on the Strip. I used to help run a conference there called Blog World. And again, Blog World was kind of like this before this was this, but on a grander scale, like a national scale. And they hold it in Vegas. They held it in Vegas every year, way back when. And I would go, I helped run this one track there. And I remember one year, this woman by the name of Jessica Berlin, who worked for the company, the Cirque du Soleil company, came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go to one of the shows this week?" I was like, "Well, yeah, sure. Is there a catch?" She's like, "No, this is part of our blogger program. We're inviting bloggers to go see our shows. All we ask is you write something about the show, right?" Yeah, I'll do that. These tickets were expensive, like $150 a pop or whatever, So go to the show, an amazing show. I get to take a friend. She gave me 2 tickets. I got to take a friend. Like, personal fulfillment, man. Like, that had nothing to do with growing my blog. It was like this cool thing that just happened to me because I'm a blogger, just like all of you, right? So your blog, you can be used as leverage sometimes to get freebies, right? And it was an amazing experience. I went to 3 more shows the next 3 years. It was amazingly fun. And then finally, here's my family in front of our house with the Wienermobile. Another example, personal fulfillment. Another example at Blog World, actually, where I was running a panel, and the woman from Oscar Mayer was on the panel, from Madison. Or Kraft, what's based there? Kraft? Is it Kraft that owns Oscar Mayer? Kraft. Bumped into her, "Hey," and she was talking about the Wienermobile, right? And I was like, "Does the Wienermobile do like special appearances or anything like that?" She's like, "Absolutely, we'll do that. No question." And I thought, just, here's my email address, email me, and we'll set it up. I was like, okay, well, fat chance of her doing that, right? Well, I'm the guy that always follows up though. So like, I followed up with her a week later, like, hey, I'd really like to see the Wienermobile stop by my house if you really want to do it. And sure enough, she did it though, right? And this thing comes rolling up my street in South Minneapolis, and it's incredible. You get to go inside, you get to see it. The kid is running, the Wienermobile. I don't know if you know the story about the Wienermobile, but it's run by. They have interns do it every year. So these two, what a great job. So now I'm thinking, I'm telling my son like, you should do this after college. Like, go run the Wienermobile around town, around the USA. Can you imagine doing that? That'd be the best job in the world. So, again, this has nothing to do with growing my blog. This is totally like just weird stuff that happens to you as a blogger that's like personal fulfillment. This never happens without my blog. But because I was at had a blog, because I was at Blog World, and I bumped into the craft lady, the Wienermobile shows up at my house. So, as you blog, and as you continue this journey, your blogging journey, think about the little things that have happened to you, and appreciate the little things that happened to you as a result of your blog. Because those are really, they don't seem like a big deal at the time, but they are. That's why we do this. It's a big part of why we do this. Also, could you say yes to more things, right? So we're trained to kind of say no, right? But could you for like 6 months, just be a yes person. Like someone asks you, I get pitched all sorts of weird stuff all the time, and I say no a lot. But I've been thinking lately, maybe I should flip that again and just start saying yes to stuff, because you never know where it's going to lead. You never know where it's going to lead. And then finally, are you getting, you talk about personal fulfillment, are you getting personal enough with your posts? So one thing you'll hear from almost probably any blogger in this room is, what's your most successful post? Is either one of two things. Either, it's usually when you cut open a vein, right? Or it'll be the other one I talked about before, like commitment, right? Like taking a stand and like talking about something that's controversial. Those are usually a blogger's two most popular categories. And I have a feeling you're going to hear that a lot today from people. So think about, again, kind of similar to the commitment thing. If you think you're going to piss people off, go piss people off, man. If you think you get in too personally, you're feeling, oh, this feels weird, I don't know if you should do it, post it. The more personal, the better. Now, I'm not saying you should, I'm not talking like TMI stuff, but like more personal, the better, as it relates to you and what you're talking about, really. So the bottom line is,
What is the bottom line?
There is no bottom line.
oh, unbelievable, I'm so sorry. It's not even on here.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's my fault. It's my fault. Yeah, it'll show up later, right? My advice to you, we'll skip to this because it's really the same story. My advice to you is, number one, don't do it just for the money. It's not why any of us got into this. It's really not. The polls I've seen most recently on why people start blogging, it's like 80% creative expression. It's like very few people are getting this for the money, and the people that are getting this for the money, you can spot them a mile away. And most people don't like those people. So don't be the person that's just in it for the money, right? Again, especially, think about the climate that's out there right now. The climate that's out there right now needs less Duck McScrooge, and needs more people that are making a difference and using their blog for good, using their voice for good, right? Like that's where we're at right now. I would implore you, we need more of that. Number two, follow your heart. So this is one of my favorite shows of all time, right? And How I Met Your Mother. And if you watch the show and you know Ted, the guy on the right, he was kind of notorious for following his heart to a fault. And my theory on the blog is kind of what I just told you about the editorial calendar. Like a lot of people will tell you, well, you need this very strict editorial calendar, and you need like this process, and you need all this stuff. And yes, to an extent you do, right? To an extent you do. But you also need to do, it's also more about, it's about creative expression, it's about emoting, it's about, sharing what makes you you, and following your heart. So don't kind of forget to do that. Number three, commit to your perspective, really, and focus on your perspective. Because I thought this was perfect, right? So perspective, someone wishes they had your problems to deal with, which is always very true, right? But I would say, embrace those issues, right? Your problems that make you you are exactly that. They're what makes you you, and they're what gives you your perspective to share. And that's why anyone would read your damn blog in the first place, right? So think about what makes you special, and think about what makes you unique, and then just, dive headfirst into that, I would say. And then finally, this is my absolute favorite spot on the North Shore. Does anyone know where this is? Oh my God, no one knows where this is? Okay, here's new challenge, new slide. Everyone has to go visit the North Shore. What's that?
We're all busy on Blogspot.
I'm not going to live that down, am I? So this is Shovel Point, which is, let's see, Shovel Point's just north of, yeah, right, there you go, right. Like Split Rock, I was trying to think of a landmark that everyone would know. Split Rock State Park, Gooseberry, you got to keep going, but you get to this eventually, and it's amazing. So I didn't see one hand go up. Oh my God, all you people go up there next fall and see this, because it's amazing. Anyways, this is my reflection spot. It's my happy place, right? So what I'm saying is reflect, think back to the section on personal fulfillment. Reflect on your blog regularly. Think about the post that made you happy, the post that really got you going, and think about how the blog impacts your life, and don't lose that, right? Because again, we all get so focused on the Google Analytics and how many followers we have, and how many comments we have and stuff like that. And that's all great. I'm not diminishing that, but I don't think we take as much time to reflect on what the blog. We all start these blogs for creative expression mostly. Think about what gets you going and how you can do more of that, because that's the part that's going to really make a difference. And really, to be honest, that's the part that's, if your goal is to make more money, that's what's going to get you there. It's not focusing on making more money. It's going to be focusing on your perspective and what makes you unique and what you have to say is the big thing. So I leave you with that stunning visual. Thank you. Have a great day today. You're going to hear from some wonderful people, and we're going to learn about growing our blogs. And I guess if you have any questions, you want to open it up for questions at all, or keep
We're out of time, but hopefully
move
you
it
will
along,
stay
right?
for a
Okay.
couple minutes.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you again, Eric. We appreciate it. You guys, Eric said it was his fault. It's totally our fault that his slides got screwed up.